Welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be finishing up our Fortune Auto 500 coilover install
on my Ford Focus RS.
We've had this car a while and done some modifications to it, intake, tune, exhaust, and a few other things. Today we're going to be finishing up the installation on our Fortune Auto 500 coilovers. We did already install our coilovers, but we actually ran into an issue. The Fortune 500 coilovers come with the standard strut body, was actually a little too short for our liking, as we are running a little more aggressive tire and wheel setup, so we didn't want to have too much contact with the fenders if we could. In order to try to combat that, we ended up ordering a 40mm longer strut body from Fortune Auto. They help us out and get it to us as quickly as they could. So this is the smaller shock body right here, and then the ones that are installed are about 40mm longer than the standard one. On top of that, we do have the Vorschlag camber caster plates, which allow adjustment, so when we get our alignment we can get to the specs we need. And for those that don't know, the Ford Focus RS actually has a electronic dampening control on the factory struts. So to maintain factory appearance and not have a light on when we put it in track mode, we got resistors from KW. These things are pricey, but at least it'll keep lights off when we put it in track mode. So these will be going on our car. And we'll get the install started here shortly. Now that we have the coilover installed, there's a few things I wanted to go over. First and foremost, you'll notice that the lower locking collar is actually flipped from the way we installed it in our installation clip. The reason for this is because we actually had a little bit of clearance issue with the wheels that we're running along with the tires. And second of all, you'll notice that this is the original locking collar that we had on there that came with the coilover. So the one that's on here is actually a Gen 7 that Fortune Auto ended up sending us. This is their Gen 8, and the Gen 8 is actually quite a bit thicker on the outer side than the Gen 7. And as you can see, with a 9.5 inch wheel on a 40 offset, we were actually rubbing. With this, we're not rubbing the wheel, but we are really close to the tire. So in order to get the clearance we need, we will end up running a 3mm spacer. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the access for the dampening control. These coilovers have a 24-way adjustability on dampening, and there is no easy way to access it unless you drill a 2-inch hole like we did here in the factory strut bar. This also creates a window for our caster and camber adjustment, so we know where they're at. The caster is hard set, so you do have to remove the coilover from the car, but the camber, you loosen these 3 top hat bolts and you actually slide it back and forth, and that right there will give you the negative camber and the positive camber setting. There are lines on the Vorschlag camber plates that will allow you to give a measurement. So now that we have the front coilovers installed, I want to talk about the rear coilover setup for a second. These rear coilovers are actually a divorced setup, which means the spring is separate from the strut. You have a 24-way dampening system as well, which is adjusted at the bottom. Just turn this knob right here and that'll give you your adjustment per click. And then for the height, you're actually adjusting the coilover sleeve up to lower it, down to raise it. We actually have this maxed out on the raised because of the tires we're running. This helps give us clearance. When you're adjusting for the strut, this right here is basically the dampening only. So when you lower the car, you're going to close in the strut and make it smaller. When you raise the car, you're going to make it longer. And you just have to find the happy medium when you're adjusting. Also to note, on this car, we are running white line sway bars, front and rear. Now that we have the coilovers installed and adjusted, we're ready to put on the wheels and lower it down to see where it sits.
So we've mentioned aggressive wheels and tires a couple times, so I wanted to cover that. I'm running Continental Contact 3s, 265, 35, 18s, paired with the Inky NTO 3s plus M, and they're the 18 by 9.5 plus 40 offset.